I did speak with San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins. Here's our conversation. So let's start with the information that we have so far. You've said that the suspect, David DePape, was politically motivated. Can you put a fine point on it? What new information are you learning about his motive?
So what we know is that when he entered that home, he was specifically looking for the speaker. That home was targeted. This was not a random burglary. He specifically sought out the speaker's home in order to find her there, and instead encountered her husband.
And do you think his motive was to harm her, or to actually, because he's charged with attempted murder, clearly that's because of his assault against her husband, but do you think his motive was to kill the Speaker of the House?
So as was revealed in the federal affidavit that was filed yesterday, he expressed specific intentions to do harm to her, which was based on political issues that he had with her. And so for that reason, we do stand by the fact that we believe it was politically motivated.
At this point in time, what are your biggest unanswered questions?
Of course, this is only a 4 or 5 day old investigation. There's still a lot to comb through, a lot to flush out. The law enforcement is still very much investigating this case. So there's a lot we're still having to wrap our hands around as far as the timeline of what happened and other things about Mr. DePape's background.
And the federal complaint outlines some really disturbing new details of the attack. Let me just go through a few of them. It includes that he told San Francisco police he hoped to hold Nancy Pelosi hostage and also lure another individual to him. Do you have details about whom he wanted to lure there?
So while I have those details, at this time, given the fact that this is an ongoing investigation, we're not revealing every aspect, that has come to light. My job as the DA is to make sure that this investigation is done well and is completed the way it needs to be, as well as that our prosecution is successful. And so for that reason, we are limiting what information we're providing to the public.
Understood. Can you say whether the people he wanted to lure, though, were elected officials or an elected official?
No, we're not revealing anything at this time about that particular issue.
You have revealed that it appears as though the suspect embraced fringe movements across the board, which ultimately led him to theories that demonized House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Can you give us any more details about his ideology?
What I will say right now is that it's very clear that he was seeking her out because he had a specific issue with her that was motivated by a problem that he had with her representation in Congress.
Okay, and law enforcement also found a journal apparently in DePape's backpack. Do you have any details about what was in the journal? Has that shed light on this horrific incident?
And again, that's one of those things that we are making sure not to speak about. We don't want this case tried in the public. We want to make sure that we protect both the investigation and the prosecution. And so we're keeping our public discussions very limited to the details that we've already provided.
I do want to get big picture, but very quickly, are you planning to release the 911 call or any body camera video?
Not at this time. We're going to find out today the speed at which this case will proceed, once he's arraigned. And so we'll make decisions about what evidence gets played in court during any hearing or during the trial.
And do you know for sure whether DePape acted alone?
At this time, we have no evidence to suggest that he acted with anyone else. Nothing has come to light to push any theory of that nature forward.
As you know, there is a broader backdrop to this conversation. We know that there's been an increase in threats to members of Congress by 144% in recent years. And in fact, the Capitol Police just today issued a rare public call for more resources. How concerned are you about the current political climate, given that we're now 1 week out from the midterms?
I'm certainly very concerned. This attack should take us all a step back and make us look at what's going on, not in our democracy, quite frankly. We have a very tragic history in this country of multiple political leaders being assassinated, not only in America, but in our very city of San Francisco. And so it is alarming that we're now back at a point in our nation's history where people believe that it's okay to both incite violence as well as enact violence on political leaders and their family members. So I think it's incumbent upon us to really demand that change.
Well, and the other part of this backdrop, as you know, is this slew of misinformation that we have seen, some of it shared by prominent figures. I'm not going to repeat it, but broadly speaking, what is your message to anyone who wants to push misinformation?
That first of all, it's disgusting that it's something that shouldn't be done. We're looking at a family that has been extremely traumatized. If you could imagine having somebody intrude into your home in the middle of the night while you're sleeping and physically attack you, this is something that we should all be, like I said, unsettled about, and that we should be respectful of what this family has gone through. And so to have people make light of the situation, spread misinformation, or even make jokes about it, I think really represents, like I said, just the toxic nature of our political atmosphere right now.
And finally, a joint intelligence bulletin from domestic security agencies warned of increased threats, particularly from lone wolf offenders who leverage election-related issues to justify violence, according to this assessment. Are you actually seeing an uptick in election-related threats?
Right now, like I said, I know that people are at a heightened place, wanting to make sure that their voices are heard. And so I think we're all on high alert as far as election threats and election-related violence. I certainly had to step up my security once this happened. I think most of us wanted to do that for fear of copycat behavior and other things like that. So I think it's something that we all are having to take more seriously right now, given what's going on.
Let me just follow up with you quickly to be clear. Were you specifically threatened in the wake of this attack against Paul Pelosi?
No, I have not been specifically threatened. But like I said, I think as a political figure, we have all been unnerved and unsettled by what happened here. And unfortunately, we know that people who commit these types of acts often are hard to find before they do them, and that they're not limited to simply the president or national figures, that they're willing to attack anyone. Like I said, in San Francisco's own history, we've had a mayor be assassinated as well as Harvey Milk. And so it's something that we just all have to be on high alert, because this is a very tense time in our country. And right now we have political leaders who are making light of this situation and, again, almost encouraging this type of behavior.
Well, we know this is an ongoing investigation and a very busy time for you. San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, thank you so much for joining us and for your insights today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.